Hi, I'm Angela Gorman, the Specialist Teacher for Communication and Interaction for the Dover District, and today I'm going to talk to you about visual resources to support communication development in children with ASD. We all know that children with ASD really struggle with their communication, and because of that we actually need to teach them those skills. People with ASD in general really respond well to visual resources, so this is a really good way of supporting communication. The resources I'm going to talk to you about today are largely physical visual resources. However, it's important to remember that you can get things like Grid Player on the iPad, which is a really good symbol app. And also we can be using Makaton alongside this, but also Makaton symbols are a visual aid as well. So I'm going to start today with PECS. This is a PECS board. Now PECS stands for Picture Exchange Communication System. I'm not able to go through all the stages of PECS today. You can do a recognised PECS course with the pyramid scheme, and that's available for you to do. But I'm just going to talk to you about some of the basic concepts. PECS is really good because it's really good at the start for that functional communication. Those children that are non-verbal, frustrated, unable to communicate their basic needs. With PECS, it's just a simple symbol and exchange to receive the item they want. The key thing about PECS is that symbol exchange, because it's not about just pointing to a symbol or holding up a symbol, because the child is learning that in order to get something I actually need to communicate. I need a communicative partner, I need to exchange that symbol with them, and then I can get something that I want, and I'm going to start to enjoy that communication. As you go up through the stages of PECS, it really progresses into beyond just one symbol. We can go into sentence-like structures. So you might do it with fun things. This one, you might have a fun toy cow. I want the noisy cow. The children can start to request through sentences. And also, what's really good, which I use a lot, I create my own PECS books. So this one is just simply about items that the child can see and count. So you can home in on a special interest here, which is really good as well. So this one's maybe for a child that likes trains. You can look through the book together and then ask the child what they can see. And the child would select, I see, in this case, one train. And again, making that exchange with the adults so they're communicating. These books are really good for provoking that interest in books, but also just learning basic reading skills, how to hold a book, how to flick through a book, alongside developing that important communication and able to talk about something that they really enjoy talking about. And again, the books can progress up as well. So this one here is beyond just I see. We're talking about prepositions, and it's called in, on and under. So we've got that first one there, there's an ant carrying a leaf, and the child would select the right symbols, and it says I see an ant under a leaf. Okay, so they can be used in all sorts of ways to develop those communication skills. Next thing I'm going to talk to you about is key fobs. Key fobs are a really quick and easy way of helping children to develop their communication skills. Often I might go into a setting or a school and you'll see an ASD child perhaps following around the adult or standing there or tapping the adult. These are a really good way of teaching non-verbal children, or those children with not many verbal skills, how to gain an adult's attention and how to initiate some form of communication. Again, like PECS, they start with functional communication. So it's learning basic skills like toilet. So the adult would just have it on them. The child comes over and initially might point to the symbol, but eventually you'd hope that they were saying the word toilet and requesting toilet, and they can have all things on there. They can also be used by the adult to communicate with the child. This one says sitting, so the adult can tell the child that they need to sit and show the symbol to help them process that information. So key fobs are a really good way of enforcing that functional communication and getting that child to start initiating communication, not feeling frustrated by not being able to communicate their needs. And again, key fobs can be used for other things as well. We've got the functional ones there, but you might want one to request activities like stories, games, and also I've said before that they can be used in emotions as well to show how they're feeling. Next thing I'm going to talk to you about is choosing boards. Choosing boards are a way of the adult not assuming what the ASD child wants. It's a way of giving that choice out. Often children with ASD don't like loads of choices, so at this point you have to gauge the child. Are too many choices going to confuse them? How many choices should I put on there? So it's up to you to decide that. But these are really good and can be used in a mainstream classroom as well as special school. I used to use these all the time at special school with my small circle, but this works really well for an ASD child to go out with perhaps one or two other children, and we can do things like how they're feeling, so maybe sing a song about how they're feeling, and they select how they're feeling. I feel poorly, I feel cross, etc. Or they can be used to choose fun activities. Really good for developing social skills. You could have a couple of children with the ASD child sitting in a circle, do a bit of a singing time, and the ASD child gets to choose what song they'd like. Oh, I'd like 5 Speckled Frogs. Okay. And there's another one here on activities, maybe going out to playtime. What would you like to do today? I want the Lego today, or I want to play cards. Okay, so there's all sorts of ways these choosing boards can be used, but the good thing about them is they're encouraging that ASD child to have a bit of control, and so eases that frustration because they're getting to choose what they want to do. And it might start with just silently choosing the symbol, but hopefully then we can teach the skills of saying the words, saying the sentence, and being in that social group and enjoying that social contact. Right, next thing I'm going to talk to you about is subject, verb, object symbols. These are really advocated by the CERTS approach, which stands for Social, Communication, Emotional, Regulation, Transitional Supports. If you want to find out more about CERTS, by all means have a Google of it. They also run courses that you can go on. But in the CERTS approach, these are a really good resource. Okay, the CERTS approach emphasises that people with ASD need to want that social contact. They need to learn to initiate that social contact and to learn that people are fun and they want to be with them. So I've got one here, and basically the idea is that the child always has a name at the start, what the activity is, and the verb of the activity. So in this case it says Susan blow bubbles. So these can be set up in small groups. You can have lots of fun activities, and the children can ask each other to do things. Susan blow bubbles, John blow whistle, Timmy spin top. Okay, they can be used for all different activities, and if they're used with fun activities, then it really creates that desire to want to communicate because they're enjoying themselves. Essential is to put the name at the front, so children get to know that I'm talking to a person. This is a social activity and that they're enjoying it. I've used symbols here, but you can use photos. It really doesn't matter. These can also be used on the playground. If you've got a non-verbal, perhaps EYFS child, going out onto the playground for the first time, the adults can take these out. This is a teacher called Mr. James, and we've got Mr. James Play Chase. So when the child doesn't know what to do, they can come up and request some activities for the teacher to do with them if they're not confident in approaching other children. I've used these before in PE lessons with ASD children, where we've had a ball and the child has requested whether they want to throw the ball, kick the ball, roll the ball. It just gives that choice, gives that element of control, and makes the child feel included and eases the frustration of not being able to communicate their needs. And lots of people sometimes say that having the symbol there might stop the speech. It doesn't at all. Once they get going with these, once they understand the symbols, they really want to say the words as well, so that's really good. So they're really useful. Also, in the EYFS stage, they can be used to form play webs. I think I've got one of those here for you. Yep. So basically you can have an activity in the middle of the carpet. In this case it's trains, and you can build up the language round the activity. So you might have connect trains, chuff up the hill, okay? So the child is learning all sorts of verbs and other language while having a fun activity. And that's the key for the CERTS approach, is that the child wants to communicate and have fun because the child is enjoying themselves in that activity. And these are brilliant with EYFS children, they really like to take part. Right, the final thing I'm going to talk to you about today is symbols to support event recall. Now, these are really useful in easing frustration in children with ASD because it enables you to give them a prompt so they can explain to you what has happened. So they're ideal for communicating things like incidents on the playground. They also can be used indoors in lessons, in literacy lessons, to work out stories, and they can be paired in with language through colour. Just as the CERTS resources can be as well. So that's another way of doing your literacy. But with the event recall symbols, they're really good because the child can come in from play. They might be quite upset, something's gone on, you don't know what it is. And by showing them the symbols, you can work out together what went wrong. So who was there? Where were you? What did you do? And how did you feel? Those symbols just give those prompts to break down that communication. And also it helps the adult, because sometimes we forget with ASD children how difficult it is to communicate. I've had children before I've spoken to and I've said, why didn't you say that? And they said, the teacher never asked me. So these are prompts to fully break down, get to the bottom of it, and it eases that frustration, and most importantly makes that ASD child feel valued and like they've been listened to. So that's my visual resources on communication. I hope you found that useful today, and if you want to look further into it, by all means look at the Pyramid website for PECS and do look up CERTS. There's some really good resources on there as well. Thank you.